Problem.
I was wondering. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to put a message in the chat, make sure they can see it.
Hi, Chris. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, good. I think I might have lost my audio just for a second there. Okay.
I'm hoping that someone will respond that,
Okay.
yep, okay, good. They can hear us. Okay, little technical difficulty, everyone. My apologies. Welcome. My name is Chris Harding. I am excited that you're here this evening. Welcome, Redbirds and friends, to our alumni travel program webinar about our Alaska trip this summer. So for those of you who aren't aware, we launched a brand new travel program this fall. This is a new initiative for alumni engagement. I believe we had travel trips many years ago, but this is a new way and a new vendor that we're working with. So our first trip was this fall, and we went to Northern Italy, and it was a wonderful experience. We had probably 12 Illinois State Redbirds and friends who joined us on that trip, and it was terrific. And I can speak firsthand that this is a wonderful vendor to work with. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce um, Robert Bingle from Orbridge. He is the Director of Sales and Program Development. He is going to lead this presentation this evening, and I'm going to be monitoring the chat and answering any questions that you might have. And so with that, I'd like to welcome Robert to our session. He is going to share his screen and present a PowerPoint presentation. So
Uh,
Phyllis is telling me that we are repeating. I'm not quite sure how to fix that, Phyllis. I only have one screen opened, so I'm not sure how to change that. I hope that you can all hear clearly.
and hopefully you can see my screen there with the wonderful glacier at Tracy Arm. Can you see that, Chris and
Yes,
everyone? Okay.
they're good. I see lots of thumbs up. Thank you, Redbirds.
Okay.
I'm going to let Robert take over.
Good, good, good. Well, thank you, Chris, and thanks everyone for letting me talk a little bit about this great trip to Alaska. And yeah, so as Chris mentioned, this will be our third trip. So we're really excited to have a trip up in the Italian Lakes region early this year. A wonderful program, and we have a few Redbirds joining us in the Galapagos Islands this winter. And so what I'm going to talk about today is our Southeast Alaska program. This coming July in 2026, where we'll also have an extension for folks who join the trip who want to spend more time up in the iconic Denali National Park, a little bit further north up into Alaska. But before we dive into that great glacier that you see there in the itinerary, I want to tell you a little bit about Orbridge as a company and then our partnership with Illinois State. So we work almost entirely with university alumni associations. We have a few museum groups we work with, but about 95% of our partnerships are going to be with university and college alumni associations. So that allows us to do several things. Firstly, we're able to cater our trips, the pre-departure experience on the ground, our partnership with the university, cater to these like-minded travelers who are going to a destination wanting to experience it, but then also get an added academic element to learn about it, to have expert guides, to have lecture series. And these trips are also developed to build up the affinity element. So you're not just traveling with strangers, say on a Viking cruise or whatnot. You're traveling with other Redbirds. You have shared experience. Maybe you went there, or your daughter goes there, or your family or friends, and you're able to experience these places together. And so we are really pride ourselves in that we aren't into the general public. We are producing these trips and giving you a curated experience from the beginning to the end, knowing how important our partnerships are with the various schools. Some elements of that include small group sizes. So we're never going to be descending on a place with 300 people or a huge cruise ship or things of that nature. We have access to various cultural sites or maybe family-run properties, things of that nature that are due to relationships we've developed over decades in some cases of going to these areas and really getting to know the local people and the people who are sharing their homes with us. And then finally, we have great professional travel directors. And on this particular trip, Alaska, we have fantastic naturalists, Alaskan naturalists. So you're not going to these places with, a college kid kind of taking you around and pointing to buildings. You're really having experts who have devoted their life, their craft, and their education to these places. It's a full service experience. So from your interest to your booking to helping with flights and travel insurance to going through the trip, it's all included. The only thing that is separate is your airfare. Otherwise, gratuities, all the guides, all the excursions, your accommodations, transport, luggage handling, things of that nature are all part of the trip. So could not be more excited for this trip. I just think considering all the incredible places there are to travel to in the world, sometimes we forget how amazing our own backyard is. And as far as North America goes, and especially coastal North America, the Inside Passage, the southeastern portion of Alaska, is one of the most nature-rich, incredible, and historically significant places too. And so what we'll be doing is you fly into Juneau and then out of Sitka. And you can kind of see there in that map, we're able to kind of wind our way through all these nooks and crannies and the various passages, straits, and arms of the Inside Passage. And the reason we're able to do that is because we are not necessarily a carnival cruise of 1,000 people that will just hug kind of the shoreline and you see it from a distance or whatnot. We are on a small ship, and that is one of, if not the most important part of this trip. It's a maximum of 74 people. We have doubles and singles, so it ends up being about 65 to 70 people maximum when it's all said and done. And this ship is just fantastic. It's designed for the expedition elements of Alaska, but then the comfort, modern amenities, lecture space, bar, lounges, great dining, things of that nature. But the small size, I'll go back, really lets us get into these various elements of the Inside Passage to get the full experience of this incredible part of Alaska. So when we arrive, you get board the ship, you'll meet your team of naturalists and guides and the whole staff. One other key element, this is Alaska owned and operated, and that's very important to us. We're very close with the family who's run this for a number of years. The guides, the naturalists, most of their staff are going to be from Alaska. So this is their passion, this is their home, this is their love, and they're sharing it with us. Throughout the trip, when we go ashore, you have opportunities to kayak, to hike, zodiacs, which are those fortified small rafts of about 8 people, get right up to the waterfalls and up to the fjords and up to all these areas that allow you to really get to experience Alaska up close and not from a distance. There's incredible viewing areas throughout. We have a professional photographer with us who's also a staff member to help kind of show you best ways to capture some of these experiences that you're seeing. The staff will throw out lines off the back of the boat as we cruise, and if they get fresh catch, you'll see that at lunch. Things of that nature. It's a really kind of intimate experience with an Alaska team and ship in the Inside Passage. So what I really like is that at the beginning and the end in Juneau and Sitka, we have a historical anthropological element. So you're going to see bears, brown bears, black bears, orcas, humpback whales, sea otters. You'll see the incredible fjords and all that. But we also get to see some of the history of this really unique part of the U.S. And it starts in Juneau. One of the neat parts of the Juneau portion is the State Museum of Alaska. And it really traces the history with incredible artifacts going back from, 14,000 years ago. You got the Bering Strait. You've got humans coming over from Asia. Fast forward to then the Tlingit native tribes. Then you have the Russians coming over, doing all their fur trading. You have the clashes between the Russians and the Tlingit native tribes. Then the U.S. comes in, and you got the whaling and the fishing and the canning industries, and it's all kind of mixed into these neat little towns, and we see a few of them in Petersburg and Wrangell and things like that. But at the museum, and that stop in Juneau really sets the scene for what this whole place was about, at least in modern human times. And then at the other end, we do this incredible Sitka National Historical Park, which is the site of a huge clash between Russian fur traders and the native Tlingit tribe. And we have totems and various art pieces going back hundreds of years from the native tribes. So even before we get in and at the end, getting into the heart of the Inside Passage, we get this great perspective on the human history of the area. From there, it's off to the races. We're on our boat and we're going into the Inside Passage. And that first day is probably one of the more remarkable days because we're going through the Icy Strait. So the Icy Strait, if I can go back here, we're coming from Juneau. The Icy Strait is making our way to Glacier Bay, and it's got some of the most nutrient-rich waters in all of coastal North America. So you have all these currents coming from the ocean, and because of that, in the summertime, it's one of the highest concentrations of humpback and orcas anywhere around North America. So I've been fortunate to do this a few times. I've never not seen just tons and tons of humpback orca whales. And it's a great introduction to the Inside Passage where you really kind of lose track of your home and you're just there in Alaska. From there, then we'll go and we'll see our first glacier. We go up to Marjorie Glacier. And what's neat about that, which I like to show, is that our boat, you really get close. And then we take those Zodiacs up to the glacier. Sometimes bits and pieces might calve, but we're not seeing it from 2 miles away. We're able to wind our way up. Bartlett Cove is part of Glacier Bay National Park, and that's known for its brown bear. So we'll have our first chance to hike. It's very safe. We're protected. We have guides. They do this, all year round. They know how to protect us, but you will see brown bears. There's also opportunities if you don't feel comfortable in some of the hiking trails to just take the Zodiacs or to do the boat rides along the shore, and you'll have opportunities to see the brown bears as well. We continue on to Tracy Arm Fjord in Petersburg. So Petersburg is neat because it gives us a little bit of the feel for a small town in the middle of Alaska beyond Juneau or Anchorage, the larger cities. And so Petersburg was founded by a Norwegian gentleman. This is back in the late 18th century, actually. And so you see a lot of Scandinavian roots here. And you can kind of see the transition from the gold rush to the hatcheries to the canning to then going forward now to the commercial fishing that goes on in these little kind of gem towns all scattered throughout Alaska coastline. Tracy Arm Fjord is probably the most spectacular as far as the nature viewing in my estimation. It's a 30-mile fjord that cuts through the heart of the Inside Passage going in toward kind of mainland Alaska. Parts of it that you'll see as you'll go through about a mile long of these ice fields where you have these giant blocks of icebergs and things going through it, and you feel like you're on a different planet. And then you get all the way, you go past these waterfalls. I took a picture there so you can see just how close we get. And then you end at the fjord, which is the largest fjord in the Inside Passage. You can kayak up to it. And again, our naturalists will be giving lectures in the evenings to give perspective on what you're seeing, what what to expect the next day, to tie it all together. And then the Wrangell Narrows is a really, really special experience because it's where the bears are catching the salmon as they're coming back upstream to spawn. So you'll see brown bears, black bears, bald eagles, and it's just a gluttony for them. They can't eat all the salmon because they're all coming down upstream and going through this one kind of bottleneck, and so you just see the bears gouging on the salmon. And if you've ever seen a National Geographic documentary, think that's what you're seeing there. And then we ended off with Hidden Falls and then Baranof Island for Lake Ava. So one thing about Hidden Falls, which is cool, is that we go to a modern hatchery. Now, this is a nonprofit hatchery, so this is not for, farm fishing. This is run by the state of Alaska, where they're trying to reintroduce salmon populations into various parts of the Inside Passage that have been decimated from overfishing and various other environmental elements and things like that. So we go there. There's only like maybe 5-6 people working there at any given time. We meet with them. They've gotten to know us very well. They show us around the whole time, and you're bound to see brown bears there as well, just snacking on the salmon. We go through another incredible strait, the Peril Strait, which is similar to kind of the Icy Strait. A lot of high population of otters, sea lions. And again, each day is broken up with hikes or kayaking and then lecture series and then just cruising on the ship and being on the observation decks. And then we end it with Lake Eva, which is this beautiful kind of idyllic respite from the larger straits and arms. It's this little lake kind of carved in to this beautiful forested area just on the way to Sitka. And this is the best place for kayaking. You can get in the water, and it's a wonderful way to kind of wrap up the trip. So you start getting the history and kind of putting into context the human place in Southeast Alaska. Then we get on the ship, and you do all these incredible areas all of the time. You're with like-minded travelers, you're with guides and naturalists who are with you every step of the way, and they're sharing their love and passion in these lecture series in the evening and dining with you and having a drink and talking about what you saw. The other thing I wanted to mention is we do a pre-tour to Denali National Park. So Mount Denali, spectacular mountain, formerly known as Mount McKinley. It's the largest peak in North America. Just an incredible experience to go and see. And now this is outside of Anchorage. So this would take an internal flight from Sitka to you begin there and you'd eventually fly down to Juneau. So you'd fly into Anchorage. And then from there, we have stay within the park. So the Grand Denali Lodge has been there for a number of years. It overlooks a valley in the heart of the park. Some of the highlights of this, you can do dog sledding. There's an option to do a helicopter ride. So you can go and kind of go by the various peaks of Mount Denali and really get to experience one of the most remarkable national parks, not only in the U.S. North America, but really the world. So that is an additional option if people wanted to do that at the beginning of the trip. And all of this is in late July, so it's an incredible time to be there. The weather's beautiful, kind of a great way to wrap up the summer as the fall then approaches. That's just a taste of Alaska. We've been doing variations of the trip and with this ship for a number of years, so I think we really bring that experience to you up close and personal with people who have devoted their lives to this place and are excited to share it with our guests. And we have a handful already signed up for it in July, so we'd love to see more. And and I don't know, Chris, if there's questions or if there's any that I don't know right now, I would certainly be able to get those answers and send them to Chris. But the website with more information on the trip is down at the bottom. It's just illinoisstate.orbridge.com, and that'll have the full itinerary, images, timings, booking options, things like that.
So Robert, I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to prompt because
Sure.
I might know redbirds pretty well. Can you review the cost structure for
Sure.
both the pre-tour, the main tour, and folks, just so you know, you can register right through our website. That will walk you through all of the documentation that you need. So you can do that all online. But Robert, go ahead and talk about the pay structure, both for the pre-tour and the main tour, and how sometimes we get questions about, a single room versus a double room. Can you review all that too?
Sure. Yeah. And so I apologize. I don't have the exact the number breakdown, but the way it works is that, so let's say you go on the website, you're interested in booking the trip for the main program. So for the cruise portion, you have everything included except your own airfare is for $5,995. And that's the vast majority of the ship. Now, if you do want a suite, and now those are nice rooms, that would be like what you're looking at in the bottom left. If you did want a suite with like a separate room, that would be more expensive. I don't have that exactly in front of me, but $5,995 is the main price for the majority of the cabins on the ship. For singles, we do have a supplement. That's pretty much the standard in our industry. And I don't have it exactly now, but typically it's about 25 to 30% additional for a single to go. And again, there's different options as far as if you want a regular stateroom or a suite. And again, this includes everything except for your own airfare, but we do have an air department that can assist with booking your airfare. The pre-departure tour to Denali National Park, that's separate, and that is, I believe, 4 nights. I believe when it's all said and done, 4 or 5 nights, and I believe that's close to $2,000 per person, and also a single supplement. For all of these, once you book, we would send confirmation documents. You place a deposit down. You do have a 30-day grace period. If you change your minds within 30 days, you can cancel and we'll fully refund your deposit. Afterward, there's a cancellation structure. The first being a $300 cancellation on an $800 deposit. And then after you make your final payment, which is 90 days prior to the trip, then it's a scaled cancellation structure. And all those can be found on the website at the bottom under our terms and conditions. We also send information recommending travel insurance. We don't provide travel insurance, that's a separate entity, but we highly recommend.
Can you talk a little bit? Food is included. We got a question about that.
Yep.
But the travel insurance information is online. So someone asked about travel insurance. So that is a separate
Yes.
cost.
Correct.
Robert, one thing that, so once you book, can you talk about the communication timeline? And,
Sure.
We connected with our Northern Italy travelers frequently we provided meet and greets and such. Can you talk through that communication schedule?
Sure, absolutely. So when you book, so you'll be introduced, so on our end, you'll be introduced to a guest services representative who oversees just this program. So he or she, they're, the pre-tour expert on Alaska. And what's nice is that you get some familiarity as far as you're not getting, handed off to somebody different each time. They'll send you confirmation documents with, your invoice and, payment, those kind of details, travel insurance. But then they'll also send you all the details about the itinerary, timing, airport arrivals, departures, currency, weather, things like that, in an initial confirmation document. They'll then send reminder documents that's about maybe 3 or 4 months prior. We send a few more, but in that period, Chris and her team will also be connecting with you. And then about a month or so before the trip, you'll get your final documents, and that'll have, very detailed itinerary, everything, what to expect, where to meet your travel directors, what to expect upon arrival. You'll get various, luggage tags, things of that nature. And then either myself or another team member will join Chris and the Illinois State team for a pre-tour briefing too, just on Zoom or on Teams, virtually, just so we can kind of touch base on them X's and O's and any final items before the trip goes.
We have a couple more questions. Can you please provide details regarding the expected activity level for the trip? What should I be able to accomplish physically before I arrive?
Sure. So we designed the trips to cater to a wide range of mobility. As far as the walking goes, it'll primarily be in Sitka and Juneau would be just kind of on flat grounds around parks and things of that nature. When you're actually on the tour, the hiking there'll be always two different options, one very light walking and one more moderate or more active, because we have a number of naturalists. So there'll be two routes. The moderate one, you will need to be able to be on your feet and walk approximately a mile or so with stopping and resting and things of that nature on relatively flat ground, but it's not paved. It'll be, dirt paths in these areas. Now, if you are a little bit more active, we do have those options that, a little bit more incline, higher outlooks, things of that nature. But if you're able to walk, a mile with resting, you'll be fine. The other thing, though, is you need to be able to get, I guess you don't need to, but if you do want to experience up close to the waterfalls and the glaciers and things of that nature, you need to be able to get on and off a Zodiac, which is kind of the fortified raft with about 8 people on it. And you'll have 2 people there holding each arm, so it's not that hard. But if you have trouble, say, getting onto a public bus, you'd have trouble getting onto a Zodiac. If you're okay with that, then you'd be fine on the Zodiac. So we really are able to cater it to a wide range. If you want to kayak and you don't feel comfortable doing it on your own, one of the guides, depending on their, numbers and whatever, they have two people kayak, they'll hop on the back of it and kayak for you. So wide ranging.
Our next question is, what activities are scheduled for the pre-tour?
So the pre-tour, we have a day trip where there's some walking and then driving in these small coaches around the base of Mount Denali into various different lookout points. There's a Native American visitor center we go to, and then there's optionals where there's a dog sledding, a helicopter ride, and there I believe one other. But it's escaping me. But we have that broken down in that website. I apologize, I can't remember exactly that the final day there. But you'll get into the park, drive into it through for like a full day, so you see all the various elements of the park and get up close to the base of Mount Denali, and then you'll have some more kind of on the ground options.
Would this trip be appropriate for families with kids?
Yes, and no. So yes, the trip itself, of course, I think anyone would enjoy Alaska, and it's so beautiful. And they'll have opportunities to hike and kayak and see wildlife. So yes, in that sense. The only thing I would just caution them to know is that if there are children, say, under 13 or so, they probably will be the only ones. So they might be traveling with, a group of adults. But we don't turn families away by any stretch.
So I want to make a comment on my experience in Northern Italy with the guides, the experiences that we were a part of. Our guide was top notch. She was a history major in Italy, and her knowledge base was vast. She made the trip. These tour guides are top notch. And what I really appreciate about Orbridge is they're providing unique experiences with people who actually live there. Our wineries and where we went to eat, we were treated so well. And I'm going to share a little bit of a story. So we had one traveler who had flight issues, and and I'm going to share a little bit. I'm going to tell him later that he knows I'm going to talk about him. He's 91 years old, and he came on this trip to Italy, and he had some flight issues. One of his flights got canceled, and Robert and his crew, because I needed him to get to Verona in a certain time frame so we could get him on a bus transfer to where we were staying, and they made it happen. It was truly amazing, the customer service that they provided this alumni. So when we researched vendors, it was really important to me to find find a vendor who would provide that customer service that Redbirds are very used to, that individualized attention. Can you tell I used to work in admissions? But I can speak to it. I can verify that this vendor is very attentive, and the experiences that if you are on this trip, will be second to none. So I wanted to go on the first trip. Oh, darn, I had to go to Italy to experience what this was all about, but it was fantastic. And it was really important for me to be able to speak to these experiences to our alums. So it was a wonderful, wonderful trip, and I'm really excited about this next trip. And we offered it in the summer to be attractive to our teachers. We are one of the #1 teachers in the United States, and so that was important to me. So what is the deadline to book, Robert?
So no deadline. It's until the ship fills up. So we still have half of the ship is still available. So I would say if you are interested, definitely in the next month or so, or shortly into the new year in January. But you can always check in with us and just see kind of where we're at.
And what I don't want our Redbirds to be confused about, this is open to alumni, friends, family. I want to fill it. So you don't necessarily have to be an alum to join this trip. You can be a Redbird friend or a family. Um, so next question we have is, do we need to give a deposit? And so, yes, there is a deposit on the website to secure your space on this trip. We'll give everybody a minute to think about their last questions. I am recording this as well, so I'm gonna have it available. If you'd like, I can send it to everybody, the recording, or if you want a recorded version of this, I can send it to you individually. I'm happy to do that as well. Yes. So the question is, so just go to the website you stated and it's all there. Yes.
Yep.
If you look on can you show the website again, Robert?
Yeah,
Just
it
because it was on
is.
your slide, it was easy. I can also
Yep.
send you all the link.
No, I got it here. IllinoisState.orbridge.com.
Oh, there's a attire question. What's appropriate attire?
So it depends on the various trips we do. Northern Italy is different than this one. It's very, comfortable. You're going to be active, so comfortable, active wear, and then in the evenings, just smart casual. Nothing fancy for this particular trip.
Do teachers get a discount? Wink, wink. Oh, that's a great question.
Not
Um,
yet, but I will run that by the owner. I like that idea.
I love that
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
I love that idea. Any other questions before we close for this evening? Okay, Redbirds. Thank you so much for joining. Please share with your friends and family. In fact, I almost brought my parents on the last trip, but um, we'd love to have you on this. This is an exciting opportunity for Illinois State and for our alumni. So thank you so much. Let's cheer on these birds this weekend. We have a big football game on Saturday. So what a huge win for us. We're so excited. And thank you so much. Go Birds.